Good afternoon, Patriots, and welcome to the 159th audio chat in the Q News Patriot Rumble Channel series. I'm the Q News Patriot, joined today by Himalayan sound healing student and energy wellness practitioner, Dr. Dream. My name is SG Anon. You know, Patriots, it's pretty wild sometimes to consider how far we've come in the awareness of our spiritual anatomy and the innate power that's inherent in all of our bodies since the COVID-19 pandemic rocked the world just 5 years ago. Many patriots out there, including my guest today, have faced life-threatening challenges with respect to their own health and well-being along the way, and that's driven many of them into alternative ways of thinking about and viewing things like wellness and medicine. Dr. Dream is one example, having faced back-to-back strokes in 2020 that left him near death and unable to perform many basic functions of daily life. And yet he's managed to recuperate a great deal of that which was lost by leveraging the human body's natural ability to revitalize and rejuvenate, which he credits primarily to holistic modalities that are both ancient and modern. It's great to have him on the show today. I'm looking very forward to this discussion. Dr. Dream, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, SG. I'm excited to be here.
Well, I have to say, you strike me as someone who is very laid back, very peaceful, and very, confident in where they're coming from with all of this. Not all of my guests are sort of so cut and smooth at the very beginning, but I have to say, you're meeting my audience for the first time. Your story, I find, is just really incredible, but a lot of them may not know about it. Do you mind to walk us through, before we get into the meat of our discussion today, walk us through what the life of Dr. Dream has been like?
Absolutely. I born and raised in Omaha, Nebraska, not particularly conscious, certainly not alternative upbringing or parents. I was really groomed for the business world, and that's where I thought I was headed in my life. And I made a name for myself in hotel sales and marketing, and that was really my emphasis. And started a web development company and moved to Sedona, Arizona, and that's when my expansion really conscious and spiritual expansion really grew. And I had an awakening of sorts in Sedona. I had a big house, 3,000 square foot. I had two cars. I was only able to drive one. Just this whole thing. And I'm like, okay, I was sensing the trap. Okay, well then I'm going to need another house or a bigger house, and I'm going to need more cars. And I'm like, wait a sec, is that what my life is really about? Is that why I came here? And the answer was very clearly for me, no. And I set out to find out what my life purpose and mission was here. And I realized that it was to assist people. I had gone through my own process of healing just myself in my own world, and the tools and modalities that I was experiencing, be it sound healing, be it right frequencies, all sorts of things. I was like, okay, if these work for me, they're going to work for anybody. Essential oils, crystals, some of these things are understandable to some people and some they're not, but they all had an impact on me. And today I consider myself a multiple modality holistic healing practitioner, using all of these modalities that in the beginning worked on me. And in 2010, January 2010, I started what I refer to as the tour of love. And I started traveling all around the United States and some out of the country experiences, facilitated doing mostly sound healing for groups of people, and working with Himalayan Healing bowls. We were supporting several villages in Nepal. To date, we've moved over 7,000 bowls for several villages in Nepal. Prior to COVID, our signature experience was 333 bowls all played together, and in experiences all over the United States. And then during COVID, into that pandemic timing, I ended up having back-to-back strokes, which was a bit shocking for me, but my brother had passed away at 39, this and that. I had some emotional things going on. I relate everything pretty much to the emotional body first and foremost. I think that's where the healing really needs to happen. And I had not done my own inner work around some of my experiences. In the hospital for 12 days, Dr. Sandra Rose Michael reached out to me and said, Dr. Dream, you and I don't know each other. We presented at some of the same conferences. Get to Las Vegas. We can help you with our ED system technology. I knew nothing really. I mean, I knew of Dr. Sandra, but not much about her. I didn't know anything about ED system. We got to Vegas. I was in a wheelchair, like really struggling to use a walker. And after 2 hours in her ED system technology, I was able to walk unassisted. The complete healing process took a couple of years or so before I was ready to go back on the road. We got back out on the road during the Tour of Love in the fall of 2023. And we stopped our tour earlier this year in March in Las Vegas was our last event. Currently on a creative hiatus, reinventing what we want to go back out there with. But to date, since January of 2010, we've done 821 events at this point all over the world. That's kind of it in a nutshell, I think.
So that's really wild, I have to say, and a powerful story there. So you've been at this for a very long time, but it's like it became much more real and much more personally into focus as a result of 2020. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. The forced break when we stopped our tour because of the pandemic in 2020, we were getting 300 to 500 people to our standalone sound healing events all over the country, which for sound healing practitioners is kind of unheard of. Certainly it was at that time. So the very first thing that happened for us, my wife and myself, is a reevaluation of who we were and what our life was about, because all of a sudden we weren't going from location to location. Just as an example, last year alone, we did 96 events all over the country. I spent 11 and a half months on the road. So when everything stopped like it did in 2020, let's just say it forced me into a position where it was like, well, who are you? Oh, who is Dr. Dream? What's your purpose here? You're not on tour. You don't have any events coming up. And so there was a reevaluation of what my life is about and who I truly am. And then the strokes came about, and it threw me into a whole nother perspective that involved tremendous gratitude for being here. And then a realization of, I think there's possible exit points for all of us in our lives. And I felt like this was a possible exit point for me. And that my soul, however you want to identify all this, just kind of said, no, we're not done here yet. And, we've worked hard over the years, and I often say, I mean, we've got a place in Idaho behind my in-laws, and I often say, we could just go and be fine the rest of my life just living there, but that's not what I'm here for. And so even now, taking this break, this is the RV that we live in. We're in Southern California at the moment. I'm getting a little taste of what retirement could be like, and part of me is drawn to like, oh, this could be nice, and then another part of me is like, that's not what you came here for. You've got work to do, and we're moving headlong into a plan that, as I said, we used to get 300 to 500 people at our events. Our new plan will involve 750 to 1,500 people to our upcoming events, if we are able to pull off what I'm planning.
Really very compelling there. So tell me about the sound healing, if you could. I've recently seen this myself. I found the environment that was created with the Himalayan sound bowls. Very, very peaceful and very, very resonant. And I don't use that word in such a cliche way. I know that it's become a little cliche in this day and time, but it definitely felt differently. Could you tell us a little bit about what got you into sound healing with these bowls, and what the history is behind that technique?
The history goes back, so many years. Our bowls are Himalayan healing bowls. Those were the bowls that I've been most drawn to. I've had some experience with crystal bowls, but the bowls, we get them and we do what's called bringing them into the collection. We strike them. We have our cell phone with an app that tells us the note and the frequency. The note relates to one of the seven main chakras. And then in our experiences, we bring the bowls right up to people. And I've been doing this for so many years. When I strike the bowl and bring it up to a person, what I'm doing is sort of pinging their energy field, pinging their biofield at specific points, and then listening to what comes back to me. And that's how I know how to position the bowl, how to play it, and how long to stay there. And that's all of our experiences. We don't sit up in the front and just play bowls and people, sort of chill out and everything. We literally come right up to people right next to them with the bowls and take them through this process. I guess for me, there was a Dr. Beverly Rubik, and in 1992, she got the National Institutes of Health to accept the term biofield, which is that energetic field around all of us. And that work and subsequent work by other researchers really fascinated me. And my interest was, well, how can we affect the biofield? How can we literally raise someone's frequency and strengthen where they are in that moment? And so for me, that's really what the bowls are about. It's a fabulous tool to really, support people where they are. In our experiences with the 333 bowls, we would give people a raw chocolate made for each chakra. So they would take a little piece of chocolate. We would put an essential oil, one for each chakra. So we go in order from the root chakra up to the crown. So we'd put the root chakra essential. They give the root chakra chocolate, the root chakra essential oil. And then in these big unity centers all over the country, we would have 24 of us walking around with the root chakra bowl. So everybody could feel it, and it would have the effect that whatever it needed to have. Sometimes you would play a bowl next to someone and they would just immediately break down in tears. We would have people smile and be completely elated. We all have different things going on with our energetic bodies, and we are energetic. That's what it is. And so you bring this sound healing tool up to somebody, it's going to have an impact. It's going to shift them in some way. And after the events, we would have people say, oh, I've had this going on for 10 years and it's gone now. And I'd follow up with them several weeks later and say, how you doing? And they're like, I'm still not experiencing what I used to have to deal with before I came to your event. And so I know that's not very scientific, but I call myself the proof is in the pudding guy. And it's just, these are the real experiences that we get to hear about from people all the time. When I do one-on-one sessions with people, I literally place the bowls on their body and hold it there, strike it, and just let it reverberate. And some people can see energies and this and that. For me, it's always been sort of a listening, feeling thing, but it has a tremendous impact. And then I've expanded it over the years with different sound tools, crystal pyramid, tuning forks. I work a lot with right frequencies. Of course, the EE system. We have an EEQ that is their portable unit that we travel with all over the country and set up in places where when we have the space for it. But the whole experience of shifting people's energetic field is really what I'm about, and it's my thing is I like the one-on-one sessions. I really love them, but it's always been, what can we do with a group? We had a friend that does some amazing consciousness expanding videos, and he literally went out to Dallas Cowboy Stadium, which has one of the largest screen monitors in the United States, to see about renting it for 3 days so we could do an event where his consciousness raising videos would be played there, and we would be raising people's vibrations. And this stadium holds 100,000 people. That's the kind of dream I have, is that we'll be able to, with broad strokes, be able to affect large groups of people and shift energies for them.
A name change to Dr. Big Dream might be in order with that, but I think that's a an absolutely phenomenal perspective to have with respect to, bringing group healing to the world. And that's what it's all about. And so I want to ask, a little bit drilled down on that. We talk about the group and the individual is sort of a cross section of a group. We know that we have a consciousness here in the United States of America in particular, very rife with anxiety, very laden with mental health struggles, emotional health struggles. You described a moment ago something called the emotional body. I think you also called it the energetic body. In my opinion, and this is just from where I come from, this is sort of the expression of that Holy Spirit of all things that sustains us at every moment and is the very essence of our being itself. So I want to ask a little bit about the emotional body. You said earlier in our conversation that healing really has to start there. What is the emotional body, just from what you've studied and seen in your practice, and how does trauma and civilization scale events sort of tie into that at a macro level?
Great question. The emotional body, I mean, for me, I do phone calls with people all the time. And in my healing interaction with people, I'll have them tell me what the doctor has told them. And then I immediately move into their emotional body and ask them what's going on with their emotions. So my feeling is anything that shows up on the physical body has been in the emotional body for some time. We didn't pay attention to it. And it's the equivalent of knocking us upside the head with a 2x4, jumping into our physical body and saying, I'm going to get your attention now. As an example, in my own experience, I did not focus enough on how to process the loss of my brother at 39 years old. And so I allowed it to fester, as it will, in my emotional body. And I believe that my strokes were in part due to the fact that I had not focused on integrating and clearing that energy and coming to terms with it. I've worked with people, women that have uterine fibroids. And these are tumors in the uterus. And we have literally done work together, and all I do is hold space and give guidance. They do the work. I'm not healing anyone. I'm providing an environment for people to heal themselves. That's how it works. And I've had several women cancel their surgeries, much to the surprise of their doctors. And here's the interesting thing: men say to me, "Well, did they get tested? After all this work with you?" And I'm like, obviously you're a man, because if you had 6 tumors in your uterus, you absolutely know when they're there and when they're not there. So what did these women do to move those energies and disappear those tumors? They did the inner journey. They went in and identified energetically what it was in their experience, in their upbringing, in their life experience that caused that tumor to become physical. And so it's all how we assimilate what's happening in our reality. And I'm a big fan of being an observer of as much as I can of what's going on, but not choosing to own so much of it. So I watch what's going on in the world, but I'm not taking it in and allowing it to fester and things like that. We've seen a lot of people get uptight about different things in politics and this and that, and they allow it to bring their frequency down, and they allow it to bring their energy down, if you will. And then what is created is this opportunity for their health to be affected because they're not holding their frequency. I mean, there's studies that have been done on the frequency of certain diseases and different ailments, and then how a person's body, what a person's average body frequency is. And this was done in a famous study in early mid 1990s for gentlemen for essential oils. And they studied all these essential oils, and then they studied the body frequency, and they could tell with this device that they had the frequency of certain essential oils. They found that rose was one of the highest frequency oils. And then they identified, well, when would be good to use that oil based on the frequency it was. And what is the body frequency of cancer? What is the body frequency when you're actually dying? And how can these things affect you? We use essential oils, are a very big part of what we do. Rose oil comes in, I think it was 360 on the frequency scale, came in as one of the highest frequency oils. Again, if you choose to be angry and this and that, you can block whatever you want. I mean, we're humans with free will. But particularly when I'm working with children or older people, you can see an immediate shift. I went out to a neighbor's house one day years ago. My daughter was 6 years old, 7 years old. And it was just across the street, and I had some people there at the house, so she was fine. But I came back and she was really upset, one of these kind of things. And I put some rose essential oil in my hand, and I rubbed it, and I put it up to her nose. And on the first inhalation, that shifted her so much, she got out of that sort of fight or flight thing and by the second, third inhalation, she was smiling and laughing. Because she wasn't blocking it. So, you can see these things work, in the very moment. Again, people can block it and this and that, but if you're open and you allow it and you're ready to know how empowered you are to shift your energy, to create something different in the moment, these tools are absolutely amazing. I hope that answered your question.
I think it did, and it sort of leads me into my closing segments here, and I'll start this part off with another question on that exact topic, referring to control and emotional body and things of that nature. It sounds to me like what we have going on is we're multifaceted, multidimensional beings. We have unease or a breakdown of that fluid love that is the Holy Spirit that sustains all of us, where whether that breakdown is conscious, whether it's subconscious or preconscious, or however you want to describe that, and then that eventually begins to manifest itself really in a physiological fashion. Is that a fair characterization of what what you've seen and what you've experienced?
Absolutely, it is. We lose our faith, we lose our connection to what I refer to as God, source, the universe, and it's a very slippery slope from there.
So that would then seem to suggest that really when we talk about healing and we talk about, self-actualization here in the world, the elimination or eradication of certain things like cancer or other, diseases or afflictions that are out there in the population, we're really talking about a spiritual leap that has to be made first. Is that correct?
I absolutely feel that it is. We've seen, I did a tour of EE system centers all over the country. We went to 38 different ones. We did 84 events at those 38 centers. I got to talk to a lot of people. The people that were healing themselves the fastest were the ones that were allowing it and going into it a little bit deeper of what is their role and what's going on. What is, and just realizing that they're more powerful than they were ever told, and that they play a very important role in their healing. You don't just show up at these amazing energetic EE system centers and think it's going to happen. I had one woman, I sat down next to her afterwards. I said, "How long have you been coming here?" And she said, "I've been here for been coming here for a total of 70 hours. I thought, wow, that's how much time I spent at Dr. Sandra's when I was healing from my back-to-back strokes." And I said, "What have you noticed? What have you felt?" And she said, "Nothing. I haven't noticed any changes." And in the next 3 minutes, 6 times, she told me she was exposed to Agent Orange and it was killing her. I even said to her, I said, "I bet you pull over on the side of the road, and when you see someone alone, you get out of your car and you tell them that story because you got it down so well." I can be a little blunt. But I told her if she would let go of that story, that every time she tells that, she's holding on to that. And until she's ready to let it go and allow something else to happen, she is indeed right that Agent Orange is killing her.
So in other words, based on that particular example, the human being has a very active and very prominent role to play in the mastery of our own healing mechanisms.
Absolutely. I personally don't believe that true healing happens without the individual playing that role. I know women that have gone to the doctor. They have the uterine fibroids, the tumors in the uterus. They get them taken out, and I don't know the exact percentage, but I believe it's over 50%. They come back within 3 to 5 years. Why do they come back within 3 to 5 years? Because the person didn't do the inner work. They didn't identify why the uterine fibroids showed up in the first place. And they come back, and they come back a little more fierce, like, hey, you need to get the message. And you'll see this if you know people that got their cancer taken out or chemoed or whatever, and then they're fine for a couple of years. It's in remission, and then it comes back, and it comes back more persistent than it was before. And I'm convinced that the reason that happens is they didn't do that piece with the inner work. They didn't figure it out. And so for me, it's a you have to go there. It's not comfortable. I consider it to be one of those less than comfortable things, but I think it's more comfortable than dying of whatever the ailment is. I often say, what do you have to lose? And then I'm like, oh, right, the tumor, the breast cancer, that's what you have to lose. But other than that, you don't really have anything to use. I offer 20-minute no charge phone calls with people to help them see where the inner work can be done. And then I give them an assignment. And if they do the assignment and come back to me, they get another 20-minute phone call. And I make a deal that I'll stop doing those calls when you stop doing the assignments. I'm literally here to be in service to humanity. And unlike so many other people, it's not with my hand out. It's more with my arms out to give people a hug and to hold space for them to go through this process. It's one of the whys of my existence.
Flatly, I think that speaks to a great deal of character there, if I can say so myself. And so that's going to lead me very nicely into my last question for you, Dr. Dream, and that's with respect to your walk with the divine. You've been doing this for a long time. You've been engaged in holistic or alternative therapies based on the timetable you've described here, for at least 15 years, really in a very active fashion. This event in 2020 brought all of it right back into very clear. I would characterize that as sort of like next level focus, for lack of a better term. What has that done to your walk with God, and how does that guide and inform your attitudes and opinions in life?
I have a deep spiritual faith, and I know that I tell people, like, if you woke up breathing this morning, which you all did, you have a role to play here. Identify what it is. We're all here for a reason. And I know that my reason is to help people and to assist humanity at this time of tremendous expansion. And I don't know it all. I don't, I have some people come to me and I feel like, whoa, this is above my pay grade. And I get my pendulum out and I say, do I have something for this person? And invariably, it always says, yes, you do. And at that moment, I ask God, source, the universe, to guide me on what my piece of the puzzle is that I can give to this person to be in service. And there's something else that's happened in my life, and that is by not always asking for money or to be taken care of for everything that I do, I've achieved an abundance that is can only be described as being taken care of by source. I realize by giving myself into whatever the reason is that I'm here, God, source, the universe continues to take care of me, and I have a tremendous faith that that will always be the case. And maybe that's why I'm so calm and relaxed, as she said.
Powerful words indeed. So, Dr. Dream, for patriots out there that have been following along and are interested in learning more, is there a way for them to reach out and contact you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can go to our main website, itsallgood.com, because it absolutely is itsallgood.com. There's a link to book a no charge 20-minute phone call. It gives you the criteria, it integrates with my calendar. And you can find other things that we're involved in. I have healing tools available on the site, and this and that, but I'm not here to sell you anything. Um, Take a look at it and see what you all think. I'd love to hear from you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Dr. Dream, for coming on the show today to tackle these topics and unpack this for the audience out there. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about sound healing and other alternative and holistic therapies, you can navigate to the links in the description box below the video. This is SG Anon. I'll be back with each and every one of you again soon on the Q News Patriot channel. God bless everyone. Stay safe today. Thanks. Bye-bye.